You have a fat burning pathway and you have a fat storing pathway. And when your fat burning pathway is blocked and your fat storing pathway is overstimulated, even though you're eating less and moving more and doing everything right, your body is told we have enough, let's store. You can do everything right and you will never see changes because all of these things block fat burning and push you into that fat storing state. It's not a switch that you can just flip, go out of fat storing into fat burning. We need to rewire the whole dang house. It's gonna take some time. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the latest episode of the Metabolism and Menopause podcast, where we help you understand this new body of yours. Maybe you've started to experience some hormonal challenges, maybe you're post-menopause, but we know now that your body is inherently different, which is why those past fat loss strategies just really aren't cutting it anymore. So it is time to learn how to work with your body instead of against it so you can open up your fat burning pathways, have energy, and get your confidence back. So today we are going over probably one of my favorite topics, which is how to go from a fat storing state to a fat burning state. And I am going to cover so much because this is literally for every single woman who feels like they are doing everything right. They are cutting calories, the carbs, they are hitting their workouts, they're eating clean, they're getting their veggies and nothing, right? It seems like your body just isn't responding regardless to anything that you attempt to do. And so I'm going to cover, first of all, the 6 things that most coaches and women miss that are keeping you stuck in that fat storing state, that no calorie deficit or workout is going to fix for you. I'm going to talk about how menopause affects your ability to be able to lose weight and the 8 steps to go from fat storing to fat burning and how to actually implement those things. Because it's great to have information, but if you don't know how to use it or apply it, it's never going to matter, right? So I'm going to talk first about hormones and the other 5 things that can, typically be missed by people and leaving you in that fat storing state, and then give you that action plan. So we are going to dive right in. And the most important thing that you need to know going into this is that you have a fat burning pathway and you have a fat storing pathway. And when your fat burning pathway is blocked and your fat storing pathway is overstimulated, your body is constantly being told, we have enough, let's store. Even though you're eating less and moving more and doing everything right, your body is told, we have enough, let's store. So you're stuck in this fat storing state. And so we need to understand why this is happening, how it gets overlooked, because once you address these things become so much easier for you. And so the first out of the 6 is our hormones. We're talking estrogen, low estrogen or estrogen dominance. We're talking low progesterone, low testosterone, high androgens. They're all going to influence the way that our body functions, burns fat, and the signaling happening in your body. And so when we look at estrogen specifically, when it drops too low or it's too high compared to progesterone, so then we have this estrogen dominant state, we see that your metabolism slows down, which means your body isn't as good at burning calories, but also your body isn't as good at bringing energy into the cells, like food into the cells and turning that into energy. So you're also feeling more tired, right? We also see this is going to lead to insulin resistance and more inflammation, which we're going to talk about in a bit. You're going to see that your body is really good at storing fat and not so good at burning it. You're going to also feel typically more bloated, more puffy, more weight around the hips, thighs, and middle. And that fat burning signal is going to start weakening. So we know that if you are estrogen dominant, for example, you're going to be in this kind of storage type state where your body is more likely to favor that we have enough, let's storing signal. And we're also going to have something called sluggish detox, which I'm going to talk about in a little bit as well, which is going to affect your ability to be able to, again, lose weight because you're going to see that it's going to block that fat burning pathway. Then we have progesterone slash also estrogen dominant. So if your progesterone is low or it's too low compared to estrogen, we get into this estrogen dominant state. And when progesterone in particular is low, this is where we start feeling anxious, more irritable. We have trouble sleeping. We know if you're not sleeping well, your body is more likely to experience things that'll keep you in that fat storing state, make your blood sugars worse. You're going to typically eat more. You're going to have more cravings, more inflammation, lose muscle mass. It's not a great place to be. And so progesterone is very important for this. We also lose our natural fat burning rhythm, especially at nighttime. And so we see with low progesterone in particular, we have a lot worse recovery. So recovery is poor. We're going to have more cravings and feel less calm. And our family likes when we're calm, right? They like when we're not reactive and, freaking out over little things. And afterwards we have to come in and kind of cower and apologize. We're like, okay, I may have overreacted a little bit. I'm so sorry, right? And everyone's walking around eggshells around you. Not a fun place to be. So again, that's going to affect your ability to be able to burn fat as well. Then we have thyroid hormones, especially your free T3. When your thyroid isn't functioning properly or not producing enough thyroid hormone, or our body isn't converting T4 to T3, our metabolism slows down a lot. Our body gets way worse at burning calories and producing energy. And so what we see is your body is not good at burning calories, which means our body is not so good at burning fat, and it makes weight gain really easy. So our fat burning starts to shut down. Our energy drop, our brain fog will start going up, and that makes it really hard to want to go have a salad and go for a walk. We want to stay and watch Netflix all day, right? And so when we have low free T3, we have a blocked fat burning pathway. And so we know that, again, if that fat burning pathway is blocked, your body is constantly being told we have enough, let's store. And some people will be like, oh, then I just need to pump myself full of T3. That doesn't solve the problem though. Why is your T3 low? Is it because, your body isn't creating enough thyroid hormone in the first place? Is your body not able to convert it into T3? Or is our body favoring our reverse T3, which blocks our T3 from being able to do its job? So we need to understand, why is this happening? And that's the question we always need to ask. Why? But a lot of people go, oh, here's a number, here's the pill. Nobody asks, why? How do we address the underlying root cause that's keeping this from happening over and over again? Then we have testosterone. So if testosterone goes low, which it is for so many women, myself included, we know we're going to typically struggle with, one, putting on muscle mass. And muscle mass is so important for burning lots of calories, for keeping our body in a fat burning state, for supporting our blood sugars. If our blood sugars are not good, we're stuck in a fat storing state. So we know testosterone is really helpful for blood sugar, muscle mass, metabolism, being good at burning calories. And so if it's lower, we're going to struggle a bit more. This is why optimizing testosterone levels is so important, especially in women. And then high androgens as well. We see this is also going to push us into that storage state because of the way that it interacts with blood sugar. And so we want to make sure that we are addressing all of these hormones and really putting you in a better position. And we know during perimenopause and menopause, these are the typical things that we're seeing. This is very, very common when we're doing Dutch tests, when we're doing blood work. We see this all the time. So we need to learn how to optimize your hormones and why are they the way that they are, not just, try and take XYZ. Why are they low? Like, we need to address the things that are causing this. Because yes, we are obviously going to produce less hormones, but we also want to optimize the balance that they are in each other. And why is that happening? That's the thing you always have to ask, is why. Then the second thing, so that's hormone. The second thing is liver and detox. So I talked about sluggish liver, right? Or sluggish detoxification. And so our liver and detox systems are so important in our body. If they are not working properly, we are going to struggle so much. We're going to see we have more chronic inflammation, which increases the load on your liver. We're going to have less sensitivity as well. Our liver starts to slow down. Our detox pathways start to back up. Our hormones start to recycle, leading us to a more estrogen dominant state, which already happens in perimenopause and menopause because progesterone goes down first. Our metabolism starts to slow down. Our energy goes down. We see more insulin resistance. Inflammation continues to go up. When that happens, we get stuck in a fat storing state. And so the thing you need to know is your liver is like your body's main filter and processing plant. It does over 500 jobs. But 3 of the most important ones when we're looking at fat loss specifically for women is 1, filtering out toxins from foods that we're eating, hormones, medications, alcohol, stress. And so what we see is if our liver is struggling, if our detox pathways aren't doing so good, we see toxins start to accumulate. And when that happens, our body needs to do something with it, right? And if our digestion isn't very good, we're not getting rid of it. And so what happens is our body needs somewhere to store these toxins where it's not going to damage our body. It shoves it into fat cells. So then what happens is when toxins go into our fat cells, it changes the structure of our fat cells, making them even harder to break down. And so this is where we need to understand reducing toxic load, but also improving liver function. This is something that we work on with every single woman in the program because this is one of easily the most overlooked parts. Like, people understand hormones, but they don't understand how liver is going to affect all of this because The second thing that liver does is it breaks down hormones, specifically estrogen. And when we're stuck in an estrogen dominant state, we see the more bloating, the more inflammation, the puffiness, and that's going to, again, block your fat burning pathway. And our liver also helps burn fat and make energy. So if our liver is struggling, we're typically going to struggle with our energy. We're not going to burn fat as easily. Like our body is working really hard. And so we know these toxins build up and your body, again, needs to store them in fat to protect you. We see that estrogen can't be cleared as well. We get those estrogen dominant symptoms. That's going to trigger fat storage, especially in the hips, belly, and thighs. Your mitochondria, very important. We did a whole podcast on this. That is what's responsible for burning energy. And those don't work so well. And so we have less energy. We see more inflammation. We see that our metabolism slows down. And that is going to cause a lot of issues for your ability to be able to burn fat. And then we also know liver plays a huge role in converting T4 to T3, the active thyroid hormone. Remember what I said, if your T3 is low, you're going to typically struggle with your metabolism. Your body's not as good at burning calories. Your liver is incredibly important for turning T4 into T3 into something that you can use. And so then your body is able to burn more calories, which is really, really great. You'll have more energy. That's fantastic. And so this is where people will give you, medications and things like that. But all we got to do is address your liver health and then things start to improve, which is fantastic. And so if your liver is overworked or under functioning from, too much toxic load, we're seeing that it's sluggish from like stress, too much alcohol, things like that. We see that our thyroid starts to slow down. We go into more of a storing state. Our fat burning slows down, which already happens when our hormones start to take a dip, right? And then we see that our metabolism tanks. So it makes it really easy to gain weight and really hard to lose weight. So that's number 2. Number 3, we have gut health. This is very much overlooked and people think it's just like, it's just annoying to be bloated or it's just personally uncomfortable. They don't realize how much it has to do with your ability to be actually in a fat burning state. And so what we see, if your gut health is not in a great place, if you're not pooping at least 1 to 2 times a day, we know that you are going to be blocking hormonal detox. Your body is going to reabsorb that estrogen from your colon because you're not able to go regularly. And that's going to cause more burden on your liver. That's going to cause more inflammation, a further blocked fat burning pathway. And we don't want that because we know estrogen dominance is going to favor a fat storing state, which is where most of us are in perimenopause and menopause because we have too much estrogen compared to progesterone because progesterone drops first. We also know that if your gut health is struggling, especially for someone who deals with bloating or IBS, IBD type symptoms, we're going to see more inflammation in your body. Gut inflammation leads to whole body inflammation. Inflammation equals a blocked fat burning pathway. So you can do everything right, but if we are not addressing the inflammation, you are going to struggle a really, really, really hard time trying to lose fat. We know that if your gut is struggling, we have a disruption of your thyroid conversion because 20% of your T4 to T3 conversion happens in your gut. So we have liver is going to affect your thyroid. Your gut health is going to affect your thyroid. And we know low T3 equals slow metabolism, which equals easier to gain weight, harder to lose fat. We know that if your gut is struggling, it's going to mess with your blood sugar and cravings. We're going to see some dysbiosis. That's going to lead to blood sugar crashes, insulin resistance, sugar cravings. Those 3 things already happen as our hormones start to decline. And so we need to be even more proactive with addressing this. People don't realize that inflammation and gut health really push you into that insulin resistant state, which pushes you into that storage state. We do not want that. And also, if we're not going daily, if we're struggling with our gut health, it leads to constipation and that toxin buildup. And remember, if we have sluggish bowels, our metabolism is going to be very sluggish. And a lot of the time when we're looking at gut health, stress plays a massive role. We have a couple clients right now where they've done all these crazy gut health type protocols, and we've narrowed it down to stress because when you're in a stress state, blood flow goes away from your gut to your arms and legs to either fight the bear or run away from the bear. And you might not realize you are stressed. You might think you are, doing something that you love and it's so fulfilling and it's busy, but you enjoy it. You're on. When you are on, you are in a stressed state. And unfortunately, we are on all of the time. And so our digestion slows down because there's no blood flow to our gut to help move things along. And so we see more inflammation, digestion slows down, we see sluggish bowels, we see a struggle with our blood sugar and cravings, we see a struggle with our thyroid conversion, and then we have all these toxins that start to build up and all this inflammation, which is really hard in our liver. Those toxins have to get stored then in our fat cells, changing the structures of fat cells, making them even harder to break down. So it's not just like I'm fine with my gut health, it doesn't really bother me. No, this could actually be having a massive effect on your hormones and your liver and your inflammation and your ability to be able to actually burn fat. Then we have number 4, which is blood sugar. And I think a lot of people understand this whole concept that blood sugar dysregulation, if we're struggling with insulin resistance, we are going to be stuck in that storing state. That's what happens. But the thing that people don't understand is that when we are stressed and go all the time and struggling with blood sugar, that is a recipe for disaster, because our body, when cortisol, our stress hormone, and insulin are together, you're going to see that it keeps you in that storage state and your body actually can't release fat. It's a crazy process. I'm not going to get into the nitty-gritties of it, but your body literally cannot release fat cells to be used as energy. And so this is where people then start thinking, I got to cut my calories, I got to cut my carbs, I got to fast, but that increases stress. And when you're stressed, your body's going to dump sugar into your bloodstream. And when that happens, insulin goes up. And so you don't understand that the very things that you're trying to do can actually make you insulin resistant. We see this in women who have done keto for too long, who have done fasting protocols for too long, for too often, too long of a period. They've done it for months and months and months. It's supposed to have a start date, a stop date. There's a rhyme and reason to anything, and your body has to be able to tolerate it. And so you can actually make things worse, because stress dumps sugar into your bloodstream by telling your liver, break down muscle, dump it into your bloodstream as sugar to help us meet the demand of the stressful situation. And so then you're losing muscle mass, which we talked about, is not good for insulin resistance. It makes our body worse at burning calories if we have less muscle mass, right? All that high insulin and elevated blood sugar response from doing this inappropriately keeps you stuck in that storing state. But we keep cutting carbs, but we know that carbohydrates help bring your stress hormone down. And so the very things that we do, can it be helpful for some people? Yes, if your body can tolerate it and it's in a state where it's not going to tip you over into a state of inflammation and high stress, which most of us are not in right now. And so I did a whole podcast on blood sugar that you can go back to. If you want me to send you the links for all of these that we talked about, because we have a podcast for each of these 6 categories, just message me and I'll send it over, that we don't have to go try and search for them. Number 5 is inflammation. Inflammation is such a big one. It messes with your hormones like cortisol, insulin, estrogen, leptin, the one that tells you that you're full and can start burning fat. We become leptin resistant. That becomes an issue. Our body is never told we have enough, we can burn fat. Instead, we're told we have enough, let's store. We don't want that, right? When we have lots of inflammation, it makes our body feel like it's constantly under attack. That's a very stressful, energy using system. And so then our immune system gets worn down. We get sick easier. It takes us longer to recover. We break down muscle mass. Inflammation slows down our metabolism. It damages our fat burning engines, our mitochondria, and it quite literally, inflammation, like I mentioned, blocks that fat burning pathway. So you can be doing everything right, but if we're not addressing inflammation, you're going to feel like you're on a hamster wheel forever. And you're so frustrated. And then we have cortisol. Cortisol is the queen. She controls everything. Cortisol, when it's high or dysregulated because we're fasting, we're under eating, we're over exercising, we're not sleeping enough, we're go. We are taking care of everything in the household and sick parents and our kids, and we're trying to be a good mom, and we're trying to be a good wife and a good friend and a good daughter, and we're dealing with grief and trauma and deadlines at work, and we're just go and skipping meals and working through our lunch breaks, and we're just always on. We're always giving. All of the time. Think doctors, think nurses, think teachers, anyone that you are taking care of other people all the time and you are just go. Cortisol is going to be elevated, especially if we're under eating and over exercising and not getting enough sleep, which is the majority of us, right? And so what happens when cortisol is high, 1, it decreases hormone production, which we know is going to make it really hard to lose fat. It is going to make you more insulin resistant, which we know pushes you into a fat storing pathway. It is going to slow down your thyroid, which we know when T3 is low, body is not good at burning calories, makes it very hard to lose weight. When cortisol is high, we're going to see our liver detoxification slow down. which is going to store toxins into fat cells, making them much harder to break down. But also we're going to see reabsorption of hormones, which is going to lead to imbalances. We're going to see more inflammation because of that. We're going to see our gut health slow down, which leads to more inflammation. It's going to lead to more food sensitivities we never had. And all of those things push us into a fat storing state and block our fat burning pathway. And then on top of that, it triggers us to lose muscle mass. Not a good place to be. And so this is where we need to address cortisol typically first, because it affects literally every system. And then we start digging a bit deeper and looking at which other ones need to be more optimized, because cortisol affects everything. And so if you are someone who is doing everything and you are go, 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 and you feel like you are just always doing everything all the time, and you never take that moment to just slow down, bring your heart rate and breathing rate down, actually slowing down, like purposefully slowing down. This is you. And so if we're not addressing the cortisol, if we're not addressing the inflammation, the gut health, the hormones, your liver detox, your blood sugar, you can do everything right. Eat less, move more, fast, cut carbs, all the things that we've been taught. And you will never see changes, because all of these things block fat burning and push you into that fat storing state. So I know that can seem like really overwhelming. You're just like, frick, I feel like I have probably all of those things. What am I supposed to do? I don't know where to start, because it is a lot, right? Like it is a lot of information and it's very backwards to what people have told you, but it finally makes sense because you're like, man, I understand why I'm doing the orange theories. I'm running so much. I'm cutting my carbs. I'm cutting calories and getting nowhere. And I feel like junk. This is why, right? So the question is always, why is this happening? So now we understand why. So what do we do? The first and most important thing, 1 out of 8, is eat enough food and eat it consistently. I cannot stress this one enough. We need to make sure that you are eating enough food, because when we are under eating, cortisol goes up. When we are under eating, we're typically not getting enough nutrients. Hormone production is going to slow down. If we're not eating and cortisol goes up, blood sugar goes up. If we're not eating enough, we're typically not getting enough micronutrients. Thyroid function is going to slow down. Eating low calorie will slow down thyroid function. We see this all the time. You do not want to take your thyroid labs when you're in a fat loss phase, because they will be lower, because your body is trying to match calories in, calories out, and it slows everything down. But the issue for us is most of us, everything is already really slowed down. And so we need to eat enough food and eat consistently. So think of your metabolism as this fire. If you never put kindling and more wood on the fire, what happens? It goes out. We need to make sure that we are putting adequate fuel on the fire consistently to have it burning. So we have the same size flame all of the time and it's predictable. We like predictable. We like when we know what to expect from our body, right? We haven't felt that in a very long time. And so we need to make sure that we are eating enough food. When we talk about eating enough food, everyone will message me and be like, hey, how much do I need to eat? Because I offer this to everyone. We will calculate it for you for free. People always give me their age, height, weight. That is not enough. I need to know what kind of exercise you do, past exercise, past dieting history, your current dieting, what your current food intake looks like, how's your sleep, your stress, your energy, your digestion. Do you have any information on your hormones? Because all of those things dictate how much your body needs. This is why I don't love those online calculators, because we don't have enough information. Because where your hormones are going to dictate to me, how many carbs you should be eating, how active you are, your past stress, the kind of job that you have, the kind of exercise that you do, what you're struggling with digestion. Those are going to impact what you should be eating, how much you should be eating. And so this is why we offer our free calorie calculation calls, because we need to know so much to be able to support you and help you and give you the right advice. If we are not confident that this is the advice that you need, we will not give it to you, but we cannot give that to you until we have all the information from you. So that's why we do it on the calls, because it's a lot of back and forth otherwise. So if you want to do that, we'll calculate it for you. Just book a consultation call. Not sales calls, they're a totally different thing. This is just to help you. So we want to make sure we're eating enough food to not let cortisol come down or come up. We want to make sure cortisol's in a nice healthy level and moving throughout the day as it's supposed to. We want to make sure that we're not skipping meals, because that's going to increase your cortisol as well. It's unpredictable. Our body doesn't like unpredictable. grazing. Think of your kids. Like they thrive on routine, especially when they're little. Like nap time is good. Otherwise, they're irritable, they're grouchy, things aren't working well, right? Our body is the same. It likes predictability. We don't want to be grazing. If we are constantly grazing all day, just snacking, even though we're not eating a lot, it keeps your insulin elevated all day, which keeps you in that storing state. Typically, we don't fast with women. It is very rare that we do because it's not necessary. And a lot of people have abused that and can't use that as a tool to get in their fat burning pathways anymore. And there's a start date, there's an end date. It's very specific. And we want to make sure we're not going up and down. We want to stay within a 200 calorie range. So my maintenance is around 21 to 2,300 calories-ish right now. And so with that, you want to stay within that 200 calorie range. Even if I'm getting an average throughout the day where it's, if I look at my week and I'm hitting that average, but one day it's 1,500, the next day it's 3,000, maybe it's 1,200 and then 16. That up and down is a stress on your body, which increases cortisol, which makes everything else that we talked about go to crap. So we want to make sure that we are staying in that consistent range. This is why tracking your food can be so eye-opening because we have no idea. And you can be eating quote unquote clean, but I could eat clean and have a bunch of nuts, seeds, avocado, some dairy, right? That's all very calorie dense foods, high calorie, low volume. Or one day I could have mostly salads, lots of fruit, lots of lean protein, and I could be eating a bigger volume of food, but less calories. Both are clean, right? Both have great nutrients in them, but that up and down is a stress on your body. The next thing that we want to do, so eating food and eating consistently is the most important thing. I cannot stress that one enough. That one, if you cannot master, is going to be really hard for you to see the changes that you want to see. The next one is protein. Getting enough protein, this is key for a number of reasons. One, it stabilizes your blood sugar. We know if insulin goes up, our blood sugar is unstable, we get stuck in that fat storing pathway. We know that protein helps us build muscle mass. The more muscle we have, the more calories our body burns at rest. That's good. That's obviously going to make weight loss a lot easier. Protein is key in detoxification and liver health. We need specific amino acids in different phases of our liver detoxification system. If you do not have enough protein, your liver literally cannot detox. And then that's where we see that toxin accumulation, the inflammation accumulation, the toxins getting pushed into fat cells, making them harder to break down, and the inflammation will block that fat burning pathway. And so protein helps with that a lot. How much should you have? How often? Typically, we're looking at, 3 meals a day, maybe a couple snacks. We are looking for typically about 0.8 grams per pound of body weight-ish. I don't like to push women above 150. I find it very challenging to get that from Whole Foods. Then we start relying on the Fairlife shakes, right? We start relying on protein powders. We start relying on protein bars. And those things can actually cause quite a bit of inflammation in women, particularly if they're struggling with their gut health already, or struggling with inflammation, struggling with fat loss, because there's lots of fake fibers, there's lots of fake sugar alcohols and sweeteners, which can actually make things harder for women. And so we actually did a 4-week challenge where we took out all processed protein, all the protein bars, the protein wraps, the low carb breads, all those quote unquote health foods. And people's gut health improved substantially. Their bloating decreased substantially. They lost some inches. Inflammation felt better, less achy joints. And so this is where understanding what type of protein you are eating is just as important. I always like to front load my day with protein. So I'm getting at least 30 grams at breakfast for sure. Because if I'm getting less than that, I feel like I am just searching for protein all day throughout my day. So if I can get at least 30 grams at each meal, that's 90 right there. I know I only need 20 more grams. To get 10 grams in 2 different snacks is not that hard for me because now I know what my go-tos are, right? So this is a strategy that I highly recommend you do. And people always think protein is just for blood sugar, just for building muscle. No, it's necessary for liver detox. And we know if liver detox struggles, you are going to really struggle on your fat loss journey. The next one is carbohydrates. This should be present in every meal as well. And people are like, what? Yes, every meal. This morning I had strawberries and whole wheat toast with my breakfast. And so there are reasons that we want to make sure we're having carbohydrates. The biggest one is it helps bring cortisol down. Remember, if cortisol is high, everything goes to crap. Hormones, blood sugar, thyroid, gut health, liver health, muscle mass, inflammation, not a good place to be. And so carbohydrates help bring it down. And so this is where we want to increase carbohydrates slowly and pay attention to the kind of carbs that you're having, right? We're not having donuts and soda and chips. We're having more fruit, right? Having at least like 2 pieces of fruit a day, so good for you, filled with antioxidants that helps bring inflammation down, lots of fiber, which helps support your blood sugar and your gut health, and your hormone detoxification, really important, right? We want to make sure that we're having like starchy carbs at every meal. So this can look like whole grain toast. This can look like potatoes. This can look like rice, quinoa, right? You can even have whole wheat pasta. So there are all of these things, but we want to make sure that we're focusing on the order of eating. So how you're eating your carbohydrates matter. So we know that food is going to increase our blood sugars, right? So we want to make sure that we are eating in a way to help control that. One of the best things that you can do is to make sure you're having some protein and veggie first before dipping into your carbs. So if you're having pizza, have some salad beforehand. If you are having a sandwich, have some veggies and dip first. If you are having a stew of some sort, right? Maybe have some meat and cheese first, or a hard-boiled egg. Like, just ask yourself, how can I eat some protein and veggie first before having my carbohydrate? And the reason we do this is because it slows down how quickly food empties out of your stomach. The more slowly it empties your stomach, the more stable your blood sugar will be. So we'll see a little bit of a rise, and then it'll maintain, and come down. And so we're not seeing this big insulin spike, this big blood sugar spike, pushing us into that storage pathway where now food is getting shuttled into fat cells. This slow rise and then maintaining and then slowly coming down, that avoids getting stuck in that storage pathway. So having some veggies or some protein first before dipping into your carbs makes a massive difference. And everyone, just have potatoes. Potatoes are so good for you, especially if they're leftovers and rewarmed up. They're filled with resistant starches, which are so good for our gut health. So many benefits. Have your carbohydrates. This is your, this is the call. You can have carbohydrates again. This is the good news. It's great. The next one is food quality. And so obviously, if you have someone that's eating 2,000 calories from McDonald's versus 2,000 calories from fruits, veggies, lean protein, there's going to be obvious differences, right? And this is because the types of food that you're eating are going to impact your blood sugar. They're going to impact inflammation in your body. They're going to impact cravings, hormones, all of those things. And so food quality matters specifically for inflammation for sure. We want to get rid of those highly processed health foods like I talked about. Honestly, it's one of the best things that you can do. We see this help women so much, but also like lower your alcohol intake. This is a massive, massive toxin, which is going to really burden your liver. It is going to store toxins into belly fat. When there is alcohol in your system, even if you are also eating, your body is only worried about processing alcohol. So what happens to the food that you're eating during that time? It's going to get stored. Your body's not worried about using that for energy. It's trying to get rid of the alcohol. And so I did a whole podcast on alcohol too that you can go back to as well. But when we're looking at food quality, we want to make sure we're getting like lean protein sources. We're looking at like lower fat, less processed dairy products. We are looking at fruits. We are looking at veggies. We are looking at carbohydrates that have less processing in it. So have your potatoes, have your rice. Even when we're looking at whole grain pasta, there's not that many ingredients in it compared to, a low carb keto wrap. Like I know everything that's in the pasta. So what happens is it's paying attention to how much of it you're having, the order of eating again, but food quality will play a huge role in your inflammation. If inflammation goes up, it blocks your fat burning pathway, and then you're going to struggle to lose weight. Number 5, sleep. This is so huge and one of the things that women struggle with the most during this time in their life, right? So sleep is important for hormone production. Sleep is when our body detoxes the best, when our liver is the most active. We detox over nighttime. It is super important for blood sugar control. It is super important for your muscle mass and also fat loss. So there are studies that show 2 groups in a fat loss phase. If one is getting less sleep than the other, what we see is the group that got less sleep actually had more muscle loss, less fat loss. Their blood sugar was worse, and they had more cravings and issues with their hunger hormones. So sleep is really important. I do not sacrifice sleep for exercise. This is something I had to learn very early on because when I don't get enough sleep, I am going to eat about 300 calories more a day. I studied this. I paid attention on my Fitbit. I paid attention to my sleep. I paid attention to, now I have an Oura ring, which is great, tracking my food, what my cravings were like. So if I was getting less than 6.5 hours of sleep, I was eating 300 calories more a day, which is significant, right? So if you think about this happening all the time, plus internally, detoxification is getting worse, our hormone production is getting worse, our blood sugar is getting worse, we're struggling to put on muscle mass, we're struggling with our blood sugars, all because we're not sleeping well. Like that is huge, 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 huge. So we need to address, why is your sleep poor? Is it because we're too high of cortisol all the time? Is it because of what we're eating before bed? Is it because we're getting up too early and deciding to work out instead, right? Like there are so many things that can cause poor sleep. And this is where we need to dive a little bit deeper and understand what is it. And for a lot of women, it's just under eating and that stress response. So if we're eating enough food, sleep typically improves pretty quick. It's fantastic. We see it in less than 6 weeks. It's awesome. It's one of the first things that women notice and that they love, because everyone's happier when we're sleeping well, because then we're in a better mood. And when we're in a better mood, then everyone else is in a better mood, right? Number 6 is resistance training. So working out the right way. We are not focusing on burning calories. We are working out in a way that is going to help us burn more calories when we're not working out. And this comes from our resistance training. So focusing a progressive overload program. We're doing the same workouts for 4 to 6 weeks. Every week, you are going to try and increase your weights, challenge yourself, either slowing down the movement or lifting heavier so you can't go above the prescribed rep range. We want to make sure that you're sending that muscle building signal, because when we're in perimenopause and menopause and struggling with our hormones, it's a lot harder to get that muscle building signal. Very easy for that muscle breakdown signal to take over. And so we know muscle mass is important for so many reasons, for increasing mitochondria, which helps us burn more calories. It's going to help us with having more energy as well. More mitochondria that we have, the more energy that we're going to have, because we have more energy powerhouses, which is fantastic. We know that it's going to improve our insulin sensitivity, which pulls us out of that fat storing pathway if we have more muscle mass. But also your body's just better at burning fat with the more muscle we have. So we want to work out in a way to build muscle, not to burn calories, to build muscle. Plus, your Apple Watches and all those things can be off by up to almost 200% depending on the brand, which is wild. So do not rely on calories burned. It is so inaccurate. There was a study from Harvard that said that they were shocked at just how far off they were from the actual measurements. So do not worry about calories burned. Then we have your steps. Getting your steps in, but I always like to say save some in the tank so that you have a realistic amount where you could increase if you do go into a fat loss phase, because it is a great tool to help burn more calories, but it's low stress. So we're not seeing that high cortisol tanking everything else in our body. It is great at clearing oxidative stress, which is awesome, which brings down our inflammation. And it's just a great way for your body to get fluid moving, your lymph moving. It is so great for you. And so taking time throughout your day to take steps, not just going for one really long walk during the day, breaking it up throughout the day, studies show that's way more effective for your metabolism and your health overall. And the last one, which is so underrated, is doing self-care. And this doesn't mean taking like a bubble bath. This doesn't mean, having to book a massage all the time. This is taking 5 minutes to slow down your heart rate and breathing rate. So we do feet up with slow, deep breathing with our clients all the time. I show this on my Oura ring all the time on my social media. I'll put my feet up. I'll do deep breathing, focus on breathing as slowly and deeply as I can. Usually it's like 4 seconds in, hold for 4 seconds, 4 seconds out, hold for 4 seconds. And that slows down your heart rate and breathing rate so much, which brings that cortisol down. Because remember, our cortisol is just going and ruining everything if it's elevated all of the time, which for most of us it is. We are on all of the time. And so doing things like that can make a big difference. The breathing is so underrated. Maybe this is sitting outside and just closing your eyes, feet in the grass for 5 minutes. We're not constantly being stimulated, right? Like when's the last time you went for a walk and didn't listen to a podcast? When's the last time you drove and didn't have any music playing? When was the last time you sat in the living room and didn't have TV going on in the background? You're not scrolling to de-stress. You are taking time to actively slow down and not necessarily consume anything, right? Maybe this is, for me, it's spending time in the Bible, it's reading the Bible, it's prayer, it's devotional, it's practicing gratitude, right? Those things all help me. I love just sitting with my feet in the grass. I love that feeling, the sun on your face, having a cup of tea outside. Sometimes it could be, like knitting or cross stitching or crocheting. Maybe it's an adult coloring book. My mom loved those so much when she was alive, right? Like there are so many things that can fill up your cup, but it feels uncomfortable sometimes because it doesn't feel productive. And we're so used to being, we have to be on and productive and doing stuff all the time. Otherwise, for some reason, we just don't have value anymore, which is so ridiculous. And so eating enough and the self-care are probably two of the biggest ones that if you actually do appropriately can result in really big changes in how you feel, your hormone profile, your blood sugar. Order of eating is on there too, actually. That's a really big one too. But you'll notice everything starts to improve when we start addressing those two things. It's crazy how much better people can feel. And so all of these things that I just listed, those 8 things are going to improve your gut health, are going to lower inflammation, improve your cortisol, improve your hormone levels, support your liver and your detox pathways, and balance your blood sugar, which are all going to help pull you out of that storing state and get you into that burning state. But the thing is, most of us never do this long enough to see the benefit. Do it for 6 weeks. Right? We're like, oh, nothing changed yet. And we change it every week, every other week. And our body never has time to learn and adapt. Like if you are trying to train your dog to do something, but every week you're like, oh, he hasn't got it yet. I'm going to change the signal. So you do some different signals to try and get him to do the same trick. Will that dog ever learn? Probably not, because you haven't allowed enough time for their brain to learn. Our body is a lot more complex than the brain of a dog, right? Or what if you're, putting things in investments? Oh, I didn't make any money yet. I'm going to take it out, put it in something else. Oh, I didn't make any money yet. Take it out and put it back in. Like, it's crazy. You're never going to make money that way, right? You have to let it sit and grow and adapt. But we don't allow that for ourselves. And our body is a lot more complex than investing and a lot more complex than a dog brain. And so it is going to take time for things to work. It is not a switch that you can just flip, go out of fat storing into fat burning. We need to rewire the whole dang house. It's going to take some time. And that doesn't mean that we have to be perfect. We have the 80-20 rule, right? And so if we're looking at 30 days in a month, 24 days, like you crush it, you hit it. That's the 80-20 rule. You have 90 meals in a month if you're doing 3 meals a day, right? That means 18 meals might be a little bit off. Maybe you add a dessert to one. Maybe there's an appetizer. Maybe there was one that didn't have veggies, right? 3 workouts a week. Okay, that 2 of those workouts might not be your best, or you only do part of it. That's okay. So figure out how to apply this today. Like, what should your nutrition goals be? That's the first one. So again, message us, book a consultation call. We'll figure that out for you so you know how much you should be eating, for how long, how many proteins and carbs that you need, right? And then make a list of the things that you're going to commit to first. Don't make a crazy big long list. Pick like 1 or 2. Is it protein at every meal for 30 grams, right? Or a total protein in a day? Is it carbs at every meal? Is it, changing food quality? Maybe you're going to add more anti-inflammatory foods in it. I mean, we have our anti-inflammatory food guide. I post it all the time. So like you can go there and make sure you're going to get 1 from each category that's in that guide. Maybe you're going to focus on the sleep. Maybe you're going to focus on steps, your workout, self-care, whatever that is. Pick one and crush it for a couple weeks and then do the next one. I want you to try and choose the one that you find most challenging, because usually the thing that we're not doing, if we improve it by like 10%, we're going to see way more improvements than the one that we're already doing like 80% of the time, move it to 90. Choose the one that you struggle with the most, because that's typically where you're going to see the most benefit. And I know this seems simple, like too simple, right? That doesn't mean that it's easy, because otherwise you would already be doing it, right? We want all these crazy complicated protocols and fancy things because you feel like it has to be complex to work. Like it must be harder because what I was doing before isn't working. So it must be something really complicated. But we ignore the little things like just drinking your water, because that can't possibly be it, right? We know if you're dehydrated, more inflammation, boom, block fat burning. Very simple. And so this will help you with your hormones and your cortisol levels. It will pull you out of that fat storing state and open up your fat burning pathways. It will help you build muscle. This will help you achieve your goals. But until you can do it consistently, it's always going to be a struggle. And a lot of people are good for a while and then they fall off, right? Like I like to think of our one client, she's done a couple challenges with us. She did a couple of our 8-week programs and she would absolutely crush it when she was with us. And then she'd be good for a few weeks. And then she messaged me and be like, I'm struggling again. Right. And so now she's in coaching and she's doing great. But so if you're struggling with accountability, this is where having like an accountability buddy can be helpful, right? Someone going to the gym with you or someone you're reporting back to, whether that's a coach, whether that's a friend, whoever that might be, right? Having that accountability can really help. And so if you have questions, please reach out. But again, step number 1, figure out how much you need to eat and we'll figure that out for you. I hope this was helpful. I hope you have some peace that you're not broken. You understand why things weren't working anymore, that there's 6 really big things that keep you in that fat storing state that cannot be addressed by eating less and moving more. And so I hope this helps you understand your body a little bit more. You can give yourself a little bit grace, but now you have the information. Now go take some action on it. Share this with your friends so they can do it too. Talk to you soon. Bye.